The number 3 means perfection. To some, it even evokes the divine. The BMW 3 Series, an icon that lives on like never before. Choose between the advanced and dynamic 330i, the adrenaline-inducing M340i, or the electrified 330e. You decide. The icon evolved. The 3. BMW, the ultimate driving machine.
Hurry into the BMW President's Day sales event and receive exceptional offers through March 2nd.
Hi, friend. It's your inner child calling. And they want churros. A new toy. And a new adventure. Or maybe 5. With the bestest besties on Earth. Find your moment at Walt Disney World Resort.
This is your moment, your time to shine, your comeback. You're ready for the next step in your career, and you want an education employers respect. So you're not just going back to school, you're coming back with Purdue Global. Backed by Purdue University, one of the nation's most respected public universities, Purdue Global is built for people who bring their life experience into the online classroom. Purdue Global, Purdue's online university for working adults. Start your comeback today at purdueglobal.edu.
Residents at Brightview Senior Living Communities enjoy enhanced possibilities, independence, and choice. Brightview Dulles Corner in Herndon and Brightview, Great Falls, offer vibrant senior independent living, assisted living, and memory care services through various daily programs and cultural events. Chef-prepared meals, safety and security, transportation, resort-style amenities, and high-quality care. Everything you need is here. Discover more at brightviewseniorliving.com. Equal housing opportunity.
It's Amanda Rieger Green. Welcome to Soul Sessions. Thank you for joining me today. If you're brand new, you are in an amazing and an inspiring place. The aim here is to truly activate your own innate wisdom and intuition, for me to give you the tools and the resources so you can explore the depths of your being, trust your own intuition, and truly feel empowered in all that you do, living your best life and navigating it beautifully and harmoniously in any given circumstance. I find that with the highs and lows of life, whatever they may be, when I can really get still and get centered and trust that I am exactly where I'm supposed to be, and it's either painful or beautiful, it is still the same moment. Getting centered in that present moment for me, taking a moment and pausing, has been one of the mainstays of my personal and spiritual development. And I have really been exercising that a lot in 2025. Pausing, taking a beat, breathing, getting into my center before reacting or responding. Usually it's the reaction stuff that I am combating, but even in my responses, listening deeper, either listening to the person in front of me better and responding, or listening internally before jumping in and jumping to conclusions or saying something that I have to back myself out of down the road. And I know so many of you can relate to this, because oftentimes we'll say yes, and then 5 minutes later we think, why did I say yes to that? I don't have the time, or I can't do that, or that's too much. And we are in a time where being centered and moving at a slower pace is where the quality is. And all of this is going to relate to what I am talking to and about today, which is a big topic. It's Venus retrograde. And I want to start out by letting all of you know, in my February energy forecast, I don't know what I was doing, but I said Venus moved into Aquarius. Y'all, Venus moved into Aries. And I went on a whole spiel about Venus in Aquarius. And I very well knew it was moving into Aries, but it was one of those moments. And shoot, Mercury wasn't even retrograde. So we cannot blame poor Mercury. And I'm not blaming anyone, but just a slip. And so I want you all to know that Venus is in Aries. And this is actually really important. So I will talk about some of the details in Venus in Aries. But Venus will retrograde in March, and it will retrograde for 6 weeks from March 1st through April 12th. And it will start out in Aries, and then it will back into Pisces. There are a lot of notable dates that I want to outline before I discuss the details, because this is a profound and curious time. Not just Venus retrograde. We are entering eclipse season. We have lots of planets in Pisces and all sorts of interesting planetary movement. Guess what else will retrograde while Venus is retrograde? Our friend Mercury. And Mercury retrogrades in Aries and it backs up into Pisces. So there's a lot of overlap, and it's transformative and transformational energy. And oftentimes, if you're familiar with Venus retrograde, Venus doesn't retrograde too often. I think it's about every 18 months or so, not unlike Mars. Mars is the same way. They're inner planets, but they don't retrograde as often as Mercury or as long as the outer planets. But when they do, because they are closer to Earth, we feel the impact and the energy more intensely. So it can feel like a vacuum. It's a period in time where everything condenses and things are in our face in whatever attributes the retrograde and the planet is engaging with planet Earth. But Venus retrograde, there's a lot of hype often with this retrograde around relationships and toxicity and old lovers coming back and just, all sorts of provocative things happening that can be catastrophic love-wise, romance-wise, finance-wise. And of course, Venus rules those things. So can that be true? Absolutely. But this Venus retrograde is, to me, signifying a certain kind of renaissance. And retrogrades, put re in front of whatever word you like, review, revise, revisit. It feels like a revitalization, a renaissance, a rebirth, and a reorientation of how we love and engage with ourselves and the world. And Venus rules Taurus and it rules Libra. In Taurus, it rules our self-worth and what we value, and that is reflected in the material world, which relates to finances. In Libra, Venus rules how we connect with other people, relationships, romance, intimacy, interactions, beauty and artistry. So it's more about our personal expression and how we relate externally, whereas in Taurus, it is more this internal belief system and values. Venus is significant because those are parts of our human experience that are very much in our face on the daily. So this retrograde phase, and I'm going to walk through the dates. But this retrograde phase is profound, and I want you all to mark these dates, or I encourage you to. I know you can do what you want, but I have already marked the dates on my calendar because that's just how I roll, because it helps me remember things. But I encourage you to mark these dates on your calendar and do a little emoji or write a little note to yourself, however you can be triggered into awareness to be cognizant during this time. It will help you engage energetically and psychospiritually. So to start, March 1st, Venus retrogrades at 10 degrees of Aries. It stations direct on April 12th at 24 degrees Pisces. If you have any planets between 0 and 10 degrees of Aries or 23, 24 degrees of Pisces, all the way through the end of Pisces, you will have a conjunction. Those planets will conjunct your natal chart. If you have planets opposing that in either Libra or Virgo, you'll have oppositions. And if you know more about your chart, you may have squares or trines. This is a good time to know your astrology. And if that's too much for you, just figure out what house this or houses, because it could be multiple houses, this Venus retrograde is transiting through and impacting and making a statement. The last time Venus retrograded in these signs was 8 years ago. Venus retrogrades through certain signs in 8-year cycles. So it was 2017. It was March and April of 2017. And it was literally in almost the same degrees. It was just 2 degrees off in the retrograde. So if you have anything that you remember significantly that was going on in your life, or you can figure out a way to go back in time and see what was happening in the first quarter or so of 2017 in your life, you may be able to draw some interesting correlations. And then now, if you're newer to astrology and checking out your chart, you can see what house it was in, and you may be illuminated in the parallels, and it sets you up to be able to revise and rejuvenate or have a renaissance of sorts in that area. Now, Mercury will retrograde starting March 14th through April 7th. On March 14th, get this, Mercury stations retrograde at 9 degrees of Aries. So almost at the same point that Venus starts her retrograde, Mercury will start retrograding. And when Mercury stations direct on April 7th, that will be at 26 degrees of Pisces. So we have a lot of the same territory being covered by these 2 impactful day-to-day inner planets. And what that signifies is there is like an immensity during this time, and it's intense. And like I said, we're in eclipse season, and that signifies deep, profound change. It is a starting point to a 6-month cycle of transformation. And to have both Venus and Mercury retrograding in this compact area of the zodiac, which is probably the most, and I'm saying the most, but an extremely profound area of the zodiac, because we're talking about the end game and the beginning, the alpha and the omega, actually the omega and the alpha. Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac. Aries is the beginning sign. And that's like beginnings and endings, like an eclipse. There's all this beautiful allegory and symbolism in the skies and overlapping in so many wisdom and mystery schools this year. It is fascinating. And do we know what's going to happen? No, but something magical is happening. I want to share something with you that is very curious. Last year, at the end of the year during eclipse season, we had an eclipse in September. It was a Pisces full moon eclipse, and it was at 25 degrees of Pisces. So basically, right in those same degrees of both Mercury and Venus retrograde. Remember, Venus is retrograding back to 24 degrees and Mercury to 26 degrees. It's sandwiching that eclipse point. And when we have significant events that cross over an eclipse point, it re-triggers, reignites the energy. So know that that is a significant date. Then get this. The next eclipse we had last year was in October. It was at 10 degrees of Libra. And as you remember, Venus is retrograding at 10 degrees of Aries, directly opposite the eclipse point last year. So again, and then the Mercury retrograde, 9 degrees, it's almost opposite the eclipse point. So another good rule of thumb, and something I have already started to reflect, is during September and October last year, what was initiated, what was being triggered, activated, ignited for me, what areas of my life were impacted. And because it's a 6-month cycle and we're about to close out that cycle and enter a new one in March during this eclipse season, it's like something is coming to a crescendo and there's a final gasp for air or an opportunity to become more acutely aware, to revise something, to really be confronted even with something that is either unhealthy for us or something that is encouraging us to take a quantum leap. So this is very, very significant energy. Now, let me just layer it a little bit more. I told you this is very complex and there's more to it, and I don't want to overwhelm you, but I want to share this with you because it's fascinating, is during eclipse season, and I will go through the eclipses in more detail when I do the March energy forecast, but the first eclipse is on March 14th, and on March 14th, remember, Mercury stations retrograde. Venus will already be retrograde. It's at 23 degrees of Virgo. It's a full moon eclipse, which means the sun is at 23 degrees of Pisces and the moon is at 23 degrees of Virgo. So again, that same point, which is where these planets are backing up to or around, is being activated yet again. The same degree is activated again. And then you guessed it, the new moon eclipse that occurs at the end of March on March 29th is at 9 degrees of Aries, the same place in which Mercury stations retrograde and basically Venus at 10 degrees is starting its retrograde phase. So it's not only amazing and interesting, it just demonstrates to us that something profound is happening. And astrologers that I follow and people that inspire me are totally awestruck by this and also encouraged and inspired that we are entering this new season of humanity. And we are birthing this. We are here for this. We are initiators in this cosmic processional cycle and this unprecedented point in time on our planet. And yes, I can be high to low and have my crummy moments or down days and my high highs. But when I'm struggling and when I'm down or things are just stacking up and piling up, I come back to that stillness and I say, wow, I am in unprecedented times. Of course, I'm struggling right now. Of course, my body is responding and reacting. Of course, I am triggered and frustrated and afraid and uncertain and not always knowing how to navigate certain situations and life. And then I find this solace and this peace, a peace that really passes all understanding in knowing, wait a minute, I am here for this. And there is something within me that is capable and available. And I am excited to be here on earth. And I hope all of you feel that way, even if you're at your low points and at the times of life that really can feel stressful and overwhelming. So just remember that these times we're in right now, we're in a big vacuum between now, so February, and into August. It's like a vacuum, a transformative vacuum. Stay the course, go within, and practice your self-care. However that looks for you today, practice it and practice it consistently. And for me, self-care wears many different masks, but it's part of my lifestyle and it evolves as I evolve. But it can be anything from the food that I eat and nourish my body with to the company that I keep. And when I find quiet time for myself. And I remember years ago, somebody used the statement, simplify to amplify. And there is something to that. The more I simplify my life, sometimes my environment, so whether it's just something as simple as decluttering or cleaning off my desk or a closet, or if it's simplifying the complexities in my mind and shutting off that chatter and becoming still, it all is a personal and spiritual practice that is this devotion to self-care in order for me to show up in the world more wholly. And there could not be a more important time to practice your self-care and prioritize it so it crystallizes into lifestyle and not, oh, I have to do this. More, oh, I'm hungry for this. I want to do this. And the simplest example I have to give you all is I have loved sugar for as long as I can remember. And I can't pass up a good cake or a brownie or whatever is in front of me. But I will tell you this. I mean, probably, I don't know, years ago, I started detoxing gluten and refined sugars. And I noticed very soon that when I started to rid myself of refined sugars in my life, I had more energy. I was more mentally clear. I felt better. My mood was better. I started to recognize that there were actual correlations and benefits to my whole mind, body, spirit connection. Yet that didn't stop me from binging on sugar if it was available to me somewhere. So I practiced that and as best I could. And of course, if something is around, I will indulge. I do not restrict myself with a massive amount of control. But what I have found, like a slow burn over the years, is, first of all, I rarely crave any kind of junk food, refined sugar. Rarely. I don't even crave it. And it doesn't mean that if I'm at a party and there's a brownie that I'm not going to indulge. I certainly will and enjoy every moment of that. But in general, in my day-to-day, I crave healthy food and sugars. So I crave, if I'm craving something, it's a fruit. And I do not have this compulsion to eat sugar the same. My taste buds have evolved and changed. My husband and I, this was probably 6 months ago.
Some people like A and others like B. At BMW, we prefer X. Like the dynamic X3, meant for ultimate exploration. The X5, built to conquer even the most difficult paths. Or the pinnacle of comfort and luxury, the X7. And since every X-Range vehicle is packed with performance and versatility, you'll always get the best of X. The BMW X-Range. Your next X-Venture starts here.
Hurry into the BMW President's Day sales event and receive exceptional offers through February 28th.
Residents at Brightview Senior Living Communities enjoy enhanced possibilities, independence, and choice. Brightview Dulles Corner in Herndon and Brightview, Great Falls, offer vibrant senior independent living, assisted living, and memory care services through various daily programs and cultural events. Chef-prepared meals, safety and security, transportation, resort-style amenities, and high-quality care. Everything you need is here. Discover more at brightviewseniorliving.com. Equal housing opportunity.
Are you still quoting 30-year-old movies? Have you said cool beans in the past 90 days? Do you think Discover isn't widely accepted? If this sounds like you, you're stuck in the past. Discover is accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. And every time you make a purchase with your card, you automatically earn cash back. Welcome to the now. It pays to Discover. Learn more at discover.com/creditcard, based on the February 2024 Nielsen report.
Every day, our world gets a little more connected, but a little further apart. But then, there are moments that remind us to be more human.
Thank you for calling Amica Insurance.
Hey, I was just in an accident.
Don't worry, we'll get you taken care of.
At Amica, we understand that looking out for each other isn't new or groundbreaking. It's human. Amica, empathy is our best policy.
It was our anniversary, I think, and we had done like an overnight. And so we had gotten up that morning and we were going to brunch at this little place and we were really looking forward to it. And we're driving and there's all this traffic and there was a donut shop. And he was like, what if we just pull over and get some donuts? And I was like, I don't want any donuts. I want to go to this brunch place and have this delicious cassava pancakes with the this and that. I mean, I was like excited about whatever healthy business we were going to indulge in. And I was like, I don't even want that. Like, that doesn't even sound good to me. And if there was a donut sitting here, I would still want the cassava pancakes. And we were both laughing because we both feel that way. And we have supported each other. And I find too, and this relates to Venus retrograde, because it has to do with relationships. I find that accountability, having somebody on your team, whether it is the person that you live with, your spouse, your partner, it's a good friend, anything related to your self-care and health and wellness, if you choose to not do it alone or have at least one person that can hold space for you or team up with you and be on the same page and have similar aims in the direction of self-care and lifestyle and healing and spirituality, when we have other people to do that with, not only is it more joyful, it's easier and it's just wildly expansive. So anything that you're doing on your self-care journey, you don't have to do it alone. Find somebody in your life, however that looks for you, and share what you want to do with them and see if they'll get on board or if they'll support you in one way or another. Or you can be of service and offer to do the same for someone else that you may see struggling, where you know if they added a couple of new wellness practices into their life, it would be beneficial. Okay, one more date I want you to write down, and then I'm going to get into the specifics of this retrograde. I know I went off on a little bit of a self-care tangent, but it feels like that is going to be paramount in these next few months. So start it now. Start now. Just an intention. I am willing to incorporate new holistic wellness practices into my life, and it happens organically. And I have people who support me, and I get to support them. This is going to be fun. Say it that way. So on March 11th, Mercury, which will be going direct on March 11th, just before it stations retrograde, will conjunct Venus. So mark that down on your calendar, because Mercury will be moving forward in the sky, Venus backwards, so to speak. That's not really what happens in their orbit, but they will intersect in the sky, and that is kind of a magical, illuminating day. So whatever goes on for you, the 10th, 11th, 12th, right in that time frame, it's significant. And again, whether it is profound and genius and breakthrough energy, or it is startling, bring you to your knees, painful energy, what are you detoxing, letting go, healing, or what are you inviting in, and what kind of momentum is there? So just correlate the data, pay attention, and notice. All right, so when Venus starts this retrograde, it will be in Aries. And Venus in Aries is very independent. It's very passionate and fiery and individualistic. But as Venus retrogrades in Aries, there will be a focus on our desires, our desire body, and the way in which we express ourselves, and also feelings of self-worth and our individuality, our autonomy. So during that retrograde, you may feel super motivated and empowered to be who you are and speak your truth, or start to recognize things within you, because it's a time of revision. And one thing I want everyone to remember, with Venus retrograding in Aries, there's a tendency to go fast, to overreact, to jump the gun, to be impatient. So the stillness and slowing down and letting things marinate a little bit or germinate before you make a determination or before you take action is the key here. Otherwise, you may be cleaning up a lot of messes, saying things you have to make amends for, or shooting from the hip and apologizing later. And not that it will all play out that way, but Venus in Aries is hot, and it can be hot-headed. So it can bring up anger and pain and rage. It can bring up tons of passion. And what you and we get to do is funnel that passion and that desire towards our hopes, wishes, and dreams, productivity, happiness, joy, fulfillment. And in Aries, there's a tremendous amount of relationship dynamics that can be triggered in the way of pettiness and fights and arguments and sweating the small stuff, so to speak. I feel like there can be an impulsiveness and a reactionary nature when you just snap at someone. And if you do that, because we're human and we all do that at times, being able very resolutely or resiliently to say, oh, shoot, I jumped all over you. That was my stuff, not yours. Or I'm impatient today because I didn't get any sleep. I have a sick child at home. I feel like authenticity is a big lesson during Venus's retrograde in Aries, and really speaking from your truth and your vulnerability and your heart, but with a sense of sovereignty and agency. Another thing that can come up during Venus retrograde in Aries is loyalty issues. Venus in Aries loves its independence. It loves to stand on its own, and sometimes to a fault. So knowing that trust and loyalty issues may come up in relationship dynamics, whether they are romantic and personal or interpersonal, professional. So really looking at your honesty, and are you behaving honestly? Are you being honest with yourself, and how that is impacting your relationship dynamics? I think more than Venus retrograding into Pisces, because that's a whole different ball of wax, is Venus in Aries will bring to the surface any toxicity you have in relationships, most likely. There will be some skirmishes or hiccups, or yes, you could have old lovers come back in and things come up for review, because that sometimes happens in Venus retrograde in Aries and Venus retrograde, period. But really looking at your own toxic behaviors, because the power with Venus in Aries is taking accountability for your side of the street. And sometimes for me, that's giving myself a really stern talking to. Amanda, that behavior was not okay. Or you're thinking this and you're saying something else. You said yes, and on the inside you were like, heck no. Like, polite dishonesty will not hold in this energy. So taking that pause and listening to your inner guidance system is imperative. And if you pause and listen to your inner guidance system and you journal, or you meditate for a little bit, or you take a walk and get some fresh air, and you don't have the answer, who can you ask for support? Who can you ask for some help or guidance or advice from, so you feel that you are making decisions from a place of your own authority and your truth and your highest light? And remember, we are in a 9-year in numerology. This is a year where the cream will rise to the top. It is about acting from your highest integrity, and usually that's not easy, because sometimes the highest integrity, it can be more emotionally challenging, or it means severing ties with either behaviors or people or things in your life that are creating toxicity or limiting your happiness, your light, your vibrance, your spirit. One of the things that's coming to mind, and I'm not exactly sure why, but I feel like it relates to this, is the people that we surround ourselves with, and really recognizing, do the people that we surround ourselves with on a regular basis, do they support our hopes, wishes, dreams, highest behaviors, betterment, growth, happiness, fill in the blank? Or do those people limit and hold us back? And I've said this before, it's not like we just eliminate, our spouses or our family of origin or our coworkers. It's not about, just burning bridges or cutting people out. It's really about getting clear on what your hopes, wishes, and dreams are, what feels unlimited, what freedom and abundance and sovereignty look and feel like for you today. And do you believe that you are worthy of not only experiencing that, but having a team of people around you who are moving in the same direction of life as you? And I can't tell you how many stories and experiences from other people recently have talked about changes in relationships. Long-term friends who are no longer long-term friends. And sometimes the stories are bridges burned or some kind of acute event and a breakup or argument really creating some kind of severance. And then also things where it was like we just outgrew each other. You know, I wish them the best, but we don't have the same things in common anymore. Or I don't enjoy them when I spend time with them. And that has been one for me over the last year, is recognizing places or people that I spend time with or associate with that I like very much, but I don't feel as enriched or enjoy them. And I have had to take a hard look at that because at first it was like, gosh, you're being ugly. You're not being nice. But then when I got true to myself, I realized I was evolving and changing, and they were going in a different direction. So being able to let go with love, and that's a cornerstone of the energy of the 9. And this is also a big Venus retrograde theme, especially as Venus backs up into Pisces. But let me give you a good journal prompt or two for Venus retrograde in Aries. I think one would be, am I valuing myself enough to walk away from or let go of what does not serve me? Am I valuing myself enough to walk away from or let go of what does not serve me and the highest good? Another one might be, how do I balance my independence with intimacy? That's a deep one. Like, even as I say that, because I was thinking about independence and intimacy, how do I balance those things? And boundaries is probably a good answer, but how do you balance your independence, your voice, your truth, your time, your freedom with your intimate relationships and your relationships in general? Okay, let's talk a little bit about Venus in Pisces.
The number 3 means perfection. To some, it even evokes the divine. The BMW 3 Series, an icon that lives on like never before. Choose between the advanced and dynamic 330i, the adrenaline-inducing M340i, or the electrified 330e. You decide. The icon evolved. The 3. BMW, the ultimate driving machine.
Hurry into the BMW President's Day sales event and receive exceptional offers through March 2nd.
Residents at Brightview Senior Living Communities enjoy enhanced possibilities, independence, and choice. Brightview Dulles Corner in Herndon and Brightview, Great Falls, offer vibrant senior independent living, assisted living, and memory care services through various daily programs and cultural events. Chef-prepared meals, safety and security, transportation, resort-style amenities, and high-quality care. Everything you need is here. Discover more at brightviewseniorliving.com. Equal housing opportunity.
Are you still quoting 30-year-old movies? Have you said cool beans in the past 90 days? Do you think Discover isn't widely accepted? If this sounds like you, you're stuck in the past. Discover is accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. And every time you make a purchase with your card, you automatically earn cash back. Welcome to the now. It pays to Discover. Learn more at discover.com/creditcard, based on the February 2024 Nielsen report.
At Amica Insurance, we know it's more than just a car or a house. It's the 4 wheels that get you where you're going and the 4 walls that welcome you home. When you combine auto and home insurance with Amica, we'll help protect it all. And the more you cover, the more you can save. Amica. Empathy is our best policy.
from Aries back into Pisces. So it'll be at about 29 degrees of Pisces on March 27th. So from March 1st through March 27th, Venus is in Aries. From March 27th, I'll tell you the time if you'd like to know. That is at 4:40 a.m. Eastern Time on March 27th. Venus will back up into Pisces and be there through not only the 12th when it stations direct at 24 degrees of Pisces, but it will be in Pisces for an extended period, and then it will travel back over all of the points it hit in Aries. Venus is in both Pisces and Aries for an extended period of time this year, just like Mars is in both Cancer and Leo, and then Mercury has an extended period of time in both Pisces and Aries. So there's a lot of extended periods of time that are really kind of hitting home in some areas in our charts, and also in the astrology, honing in on some of these similar degrees. And that, again, is what is so curious. When Venus enters Pisces, Venus is about love and beauty and romance and relationships and, yes, finance and the things that go with that. But Pisces is also highly artistic and spiritual and mystical. So this deep water sign of Pisces connected with Venus, Venus is very at home in Pisces. And if you think back to me saying that Venus in Aries, there's an impulsiveness, an impatience, a shoot from the hip and apologize later. And that's why pausing, getting still, getting clear before reacting or responding is imperative. Almost the converse happens when we have Venus in Pisces, because Pisces is the great escapist and the escape artist. I'll deal with it later. Let me just lose myself in this good book or 15 TV shows on Netflix. We've all been there. We've all done that, where we just binge and then, we have to come up for air, and it's really difficult. But instead of being impulsive, like in Aries, it becomes the escape artist and it becomes more distant and avoidant. I'll just deal with it later. So it can be at its lower vibration, delusional and feeling more depressed or isolating and not engaging, avoidant. So it can just want to escape from the world because it feels so deeply. Pisces is such a deep feeler that it can be overwhelming. But Venus in Pisces is poetic, it's artistic genius, it's mystical and spiritual love, because if Venus ultimately is about love, and this whole retrograde is like a renaissance of love and a revolution of how we love, and not just on the personal and intimate level, but how we love mystically and cosmically and connected to God and the divine and spirit. And that's Venus in Pisces. It's very sensitive emotionally, psychically. And I feel like as Venus backs up into Pisces, it can feel like a beautiful spiritual awakening, especially if you approach it in that sense. So if while Venus is retrograding in Aries and you've got relationship stuff and it's stressful and human and hard and you're having to face consequences or dynamics that just feel like a struggle, once Venus backs up into Pisces, it's going to say, okay, you've been doing all this human stuff. Let's get down to your spirit. What are you evolving here spiritually? What renaissance of your soul is trying to be reborn? What part of you is being revolutionized from the inside out? And I want you to think about being an artist or a poet. And I've shared this with you all before, but I'm a Libra sun and moon. So of course Venus rules Libra. And I remember years ago thinking, I know people always talk about Libra as like the lover and the artist and the poet and loving beauty. And I could not understand that. I was like, but I don't see myself that way. And I tell you what, I have recognized how much of a romantic I am And I'm not so much talking about intimacy and love, although I am very much a lover. I love the romance of life, the poetry of life. I love looking for the magical and the majestic and the beauty in life, and whether it is through nature and a beautiful flower arrangement or an incredible movie that just amazes me, the artistry of it and the talent that just engages and inspires me, or if it is something astrological or somebody's work that I'm reading and learning, I love nothing more than to see the beauty of the world reflected in my life and through people. You know, I now realize I love it when people's lights turn on, or when I see people transform and heal and grow or go through difficult things and come out on the other side more inspired, more brilliant, and able to help more people. That stuff to me not only brings this sense of deeper humanity, but to me there's a poetry to it, a harmony to it. So think about how you engage with art and poetry and music, because Venus in Pisces is very artistic, musically inclined. So it's a great time, especially if one of your self-care practices like mine has to do with music, turning on music, listening to music, singing along in the car. I know that music literally shifts our vibrational frequency. So sometimes when I don't mentally know how to shut the voice off in my head or the rhetoric going on, I will turn the music up in the car and find a way for the music to speak to my soul. So that is the energy of Venus in Pisces. And during this retrograde, it is like a cosmic upgrade that can feel mystical and elusive. So you may have feelings of a little bit of confusion, lack of direction. So that self-care element of getting still and saying, what is it that I need right now? Is it to take a nap or a pause, or is it a good book and something delicious to eat, or to call a good friend? Like, what is it that I need that will add health and wellness into my physical body and experience and to my soul? One of the journal prompts I want to share with you is that I think is so helpful, because this goes back to the romance of life and toxic relationships and Venus, is where have I romanticized people or situations? And I cannot tell you how many times this conversation has come up the last handful of months for myself and for other people about how we have romanticized either a job or a friendship, a boss, a romantic partner, just basically telling ourselves, oh, it's going to be great. Oh my gosh, they're going to be better. Or no, they didn't mean it that way. And we get a little delusional and idealistic, and then we begin to accept or tolerate, less than stellar behavior. And then it ends up in an extended relationship that really outruns its course. And one of the things that it makes me think of is being able to really trust our gut and not ignore red flags. So that first journal prompt is, where have I romanticized people or situations? And reflect back. When have you done that and deluded yourself, knowing at the very beginning there was something in your gut that you ignored for one reason or another? And then how did that play forward? And what did you learn from it? That is a really good place to start. Another one is, again, how have I ignored red flags? Or also, how have I projected my ideals, my stuff onto someone rather than seeing them for who they are? Where have I projected my own delusions or fantasies or truth onto someone else rather than seeing them for who they are? And not only seeing them for who they are, being capable of accepting somebody for who they are. Because when it comes to relationships and shifts and changes, relationship-wise, usually the question for me from a relationship standpoint, is this viable? Is this going to last? Is this worthy of our continued commitment together? And I'm talking, friendship to family to romance, professional, whatever it may be, is can I accept this person for who they are and for who they are not? And that has probably been one of the greatest teachers and clarifying questions that I will ask myself. And I tell you what, I can think of a couple of family of origin examples around acceptance. And I remember practicing that, like, I see you. I know exactly who you are, and I know exactly who you are not, but you're my family, and I love you anyway. So guess what that helped me to do is to release all expectations, because I'm choosing to be in your life and you're in mine, and I accept you for who you are and who you are not. And do you know what that did? That set me free. It set them free from the captivity of my mind and my emotions and that power I was giving away. And then it gave me this freedom. And then usually what happens, and has happened for me as a result of pure, like, radical acceptance in relationships of any kind and relinquishing the expectations, is usually down the line, that person ends up blowing me away because they are free to completely express themselves. So they become an easier friend, an easier relationship, and then they are more free for me to be amazed or astounded because I didn't have those expectations on them. So when they do something kind or loving, I'm like, oh my gosh, like, it blows me away, but I wasn't expecting it. So there's this air of, while Venus is retrograde, especially in Pisces, of acceptance and releasing expectations. And the one thing I want you to remember as Venus moves into Pisces, so around the 27th of March, is that you will feel more sensitive, emotional, and of course your psychic senses, your antenna will be extra sensitive and turned on. So it is a really good time to get still, to get grounded, to put your bare feet on the ground, to bring your aura in, to do cleansing practices like, my Epsom salt cleanse. The Epsom salt is in my bathtub all the time. And I tell you what, this year, I can't tell you how often I use the darn Epsom salt. Cleanse and clear my energy. We'll link that in the show notes because it is a great practice right now to make sure you are cleansing and clearing your energy on a regular basis. And Epsom salt and water are incredible, but it is also about the repetition and the conscious awareness and the power of your mind in terms of bringing awareness to your energy field and clearing and cleansing it so you can be more attuned to your inner wisdom. And your inner wisdom is what is connected to the infinite and all of your gifts and abilities so you can fully step into your empowerment. And there's tremendous empowerment to be had during this Venus retrograde. So think about how this season can be like a renaissance for you. What do you want to revitalize? And how do you want to show up in love? And I'll leave you with this because Venus is about love. And this year, we're moving into higher dimensions of consciousness. This just came to me too. Let me say this before I finish this love thing. Is while Venus is retrograde in Aries, I feel like it is working a lot on the first through the third dimensions. And if you want to go back and listen to my episode on consciousness and the dimensions of reality, go back and listen to that because Aries is very primal. And that really encapsulates something that is important. The first through the third dimensions are necessary. All of the dimensions are synergistic and symbiotic. They work together. They need each other. We need the gravity of those dimensions to keep us grounded here on Earth. So Venus retrograde in Aries is doing a number on the first through the third dimensions. And then as it backs up into Pisces, it's the fourth through the sixth. So definitely take a listen back to that and see if you can see the correlations and see that evolution happening on a consciousness level throughout all of those dimensions and how they relate to your awareness and where you are and your energy field and how you use your human potential with your divine potential, how you're bridging it. And then I'll come back to the love. This is a wonderful time, this retrograde, to really sit down and think about love and how you define love today, how you see it, how you experience it. And one of my sisters over Thanksgiving, we were talking to my nephew, and he's just had a baby. He's a father, and gosh, and he's a magical human being. He's loving and he's true and he's thoughtful. But anyway, he was talking to my sisters and I, and he was sharing the sweetest stuff with us. Like it was this mature, kind, intentional conversation. And he was basically telling us how much he loves us. And his mom was sitting right there, my sister. And he was telling us how much he loves us and how we're the most amazing women. Like this was like one of those conversations that you have tears rolling down your face and you're blown away, at this adult man who's just had a baby. So, his first baby, and he's sentimental, but he's just telling us how much he loves us. And he's saying, I wish, when I was a teenager and in my early 20s, I'd have been more present. I'd have done this. And he was just talking about, growing up and how he didn't do this and he didn't do that. And he's lost time. And, he was regretful and remorseful. And my oldest sister stepped in and she said, his name is Nate. She said, Nate, you are expressing love to us right now by telling us this, but love is an action. And she started to talk about how we can love each other through our actions, through being there for each other through heavy and hard times and expressing our love in joyful, celebratory times. But we show and share our love through action. And it was so sweet. Like it was just like, wow. I was sitting there with my family of origin and I was kind of amazed at the amazingness of the conversation and how precious it was. But also I heard her loud and clear. Love is an action. And I thought to myself, yeah, love is an action. How do I express my love to people in my life, out in the world, to God and the divine, and to myself on a daily basis? And is that a priority in my life? So think about what love looks like for you in all of its forms and how you demonstrate and express that. How do you take action around your love? I think that's a good note to close out the Venus retrograde on. I will do a whole Mercury retrograde bit, so y'all have energy. And then, of course, when I do the March forecast, we will dive into eclipse season because it's quite profound. But I encourage everyone to remember to get still and to know that we are in these magnificently profound times, and we are all here to witness and experience and to call in something profound. Know that and be here for it. Be well, everybody. Thank you so much for listening to Soul Sessions. If you've got questions, do not hesitate to reach out. Email us, podcast@soulsessions.me. If you love this podcast and you want to hear more, make sure you're following it, liking and subscribing, and sharing it with other people. Send this energy out. Share it with other people. Remember, you can always get your dose of Soul Sessions. New episodes drop on Wednesdays. You can also follow me on Instagram, TikTok. It's @soulpathology, or check out soulpathology.com. I appreciate you and your light. Thanks for listening.
Some people like A and others like B. At BMW, we prefer X. Like the dynamic X3, meant for ultimate exploration. The X5, built to conquer even the most difficult paths. Or the pinnacle of comfort and luxury, the X7. And since every X-Range vehicle is packed with performance and versatility, you'll always get the best of X. The BMW X-Range. Your next X-Venture starts here.
Hurry into the BMW President's Day sales event and receive exceptional offers through February 28th.
Residents at Brightview Senior Living Communities enjoy enhanced possibilities, independence, and choice. Brightview Dulles Corner in Herndon and Brightview, Great Falls, offer vibrant senior independent living, assisted living, and memory care services through various daily programs and cultural events. Chef-prepared meals, safety and security, transportation, resort-style amenities, and high-quality care. Everything you need is here. Discover more at brightviewseniorliving.com. Equal housing opportunity.
The Unshakables podcast is kicking off Season 2 with an episode you won't want to miss. Join host Ben Walter, CEO of Chase for Business, as he welcomes a very special guest, Chairman and CEO of JP Morgan Chase, Jamie Dimon. Hear about the challenges facing small businesses and some of the uh-oh moments Jamie has overcome. Listen wherever you get your podcasts. Chase mobile app is available for select mobile devices. Message and data rates may apply. JP Morgan Chase Bank, N.A. Member FDIC. Copyright 2025. JP Morgan Chase & Company.
Dear?
Yes, my love?
Will you share the most precious thing in the world with me and be my bullmate?
Are you asking me to share Qdoba with you? Yes! 1,000,000 times yes! I will always love Qdoba!
This Valentine's Day, Qdoba Rewards members get a free entree with the purchase of an entree and a drink. Sign up for rewards in the Qdoba app today. Valid in-restaurant or online. Only on 2/14. Join Qdoba Rewards to redeem the offer. At participating locations, Qdoba Rewards members only. Log into your account or scan QR code at checkout. One offer per member. Cannot combine with other discounts or offers. Delivery and taxes extra. Other restrictions may apply.